The sky is reddish all around. The place depicts a hell scene. There is just only a single call, kill him. Tsuyoshi is sitting down on the ground. His hands are bound. He seems terrified. He does not know about the place. The boy thinks about why he came to this. Meanwhile, a giant demonic beast is standing by him. He waves swords in the air. He loudly calls that the divine punishment shall be brought upon the lowly human who intruded in their sacred land. For thousands of years their land, the sacred land of the beast folk, has been isolated from the outside world. He also announces that for the first time in history, a human has intruded upon them. Someone beyond the boy also says that this is an act of war upon the human who broke their covenant. He calls to bring down divine punishment. Tsuyoshi seems hopeless. He thinks that he was in a cave just a moment ago. He asks himself if he is really going to die in this strange world. How Tsuyoshi reached that demonic place? This question arises in every mind. 5 hours ago, at night, Tsuyoshi was eating dinner in his tent. A man goes to his tent. He calls him to hurry up and finish eating. He also advises him not to stray once they're inside. There are 2 other cleaning teams besides them. If he slacks off, he would not get any scrap metal. Tsuyoshi asks him why there are so many people coming to a C-rank cave. Man sits near him and tells that it is the time they live in. More cleaners are showing up. It is not like they are heroes. Meanwhile, another man standing far calls them to get ready. Tsuyoshi finishes his meal speedily and they all get ready and set on their destination. The second man says that it is a C-rank feel like this. He cannot even imagine a terror if a rank or S-rank cave. The man leading to them says that it is odd. There were only a few Darklings there. They all are wearing their kits and holding their cleaning luggage standing outside a circular transmission. A boy and a girl wearing imperial suits come out of the circular transmission. Boy laughingly says that they are lucky to get a reward so easily and made out pretty well. The girl agrees with him. Suddenly a cleaner says that heroes are cool. If only he could become one, he would be able to make so much money. The other cleaner interrupts him by saying he should stop grumbling. He taunts that he became cleaner because he failed the awakening test. The man thanks the heroes and asks them if they can go inside. Lady allows them to go inside. Tsuyoshi narrates that after the heroes subdues the Darklings in the cave, cleaners like them, commonly known as trash collectors, come to collect the leftovers, and they are completely unrelated to heroes. Cleaners and heroes live in different worlds. He says that he failed the awakening test and became a cleaner, otherwise he wanted to become a hero too. Cleaners enter a ruined cave of rank C that is not big. Man loudly tells them that the cave will close in 4 hours, so they should finish up and gather the trash. They don't have much time. Tsuyoshi suddenly finds a fragment of a shield. His fellows say that it is a good sign. That shield is worth some money. He also says that it seems as if his parents in heaven are watching over him. Tsuyoshi smiles and says that may be true, but he is going to search a little deeper inside. Man replies that it is all right, they will meet up in 3.5 hours. Tsuyoshi bows down and get busy with his work. He thinks that foodstuff is usually deeper. He should keep going. 3.5 hours later, unfortunately Tsuyoshi could not find something special rather than a shield fragment. Suddenly a man calls him and tells that it is time to meet up. Tsuyoshi says he is almost done. He thinks this would not cover 1 day of Karina's medical expenses. He needs to hurry up and find something. Later he suddenly watches a well bore and smell the treasure in it. He looks into it and says there is a well inside the cave. It looks dried up, so there might be something valuable if he finds some valuable equipment. It might cover a week of Karina's medical expenses. As he looks deep into the well, he watches a ring on a finger of a skeleton hanging down. The ring gives the shining look. He thinks is a cop left behind in the cave. Scenes like the heroes didn't notice it. The soldier is hanging in the bore. That's why he goes down and takes the ring out of his finger. He loudly says that he found a rare item, a ring, and this kind of equipment usually has some small status boosting effect, but it comes for a great price. He made a fortune. Then he laughs off with great joy. He says that he will wear it for now and later will check it from Mr. Nakazato. As he wears a ring, a masked guy comes before him. He asks what type of ring this is. It is told that the Boundless Ring has recognized him as its owner from now on. The Boundless Ring cannot be removed or have its ownership changed. The Boundless Passage will open shortly. As the divine hammer descended toward him, Tsuyoshi felt its powerful energy resonate in his bones. The hammer's voice, deep and ancient, echoed in his mind. "Are you the one who summoned me?" it asked, a question laden with expectation. Tsuyoshi's heart raced, thinking of all he could accomplish with such power. His grip tightened as he felt the weight of destiny in his hands. Then, in a flash, the divine selection system appeared before him, displaying his stats. He had reached level 3. However, to his dismay, the hammer's power was locked at 0%. Its abilities, potential, and special effects remained sealed, inaccessible due to his lack of skill and strength. If he wanted to wield the full might of the hammer, he would have to grow stronger, much stronger. Around him, disbelief echoed through the air. The woman who was about to be punished watched with wide eyes, her awe palpable as she beheld a mere human lifting the divine hammer. Even the beast commander stared, eyes narrowed with suspicion. How could a lowly human manage to touch their sacred relic? He muttered to himself, recalling how even the great beast king had failed to lift it. It was prophesied that whoever held the divine hammer would become the leader of all beastmen. The sight of Tsuyoshi gripping it seemed impossible, a mistake, surely. The divine selection system flashed again, updating Tsuyoshi's stats to reflect his newfound strength, although he was only just beginning to scratch the surface of his potential. The great beast general, Ryuga, arrived on the scene, his face contorted with anger. He could barely contain his fury as he glared at Tsuyoshi. "Return the hammer and accept your punishment," he demanded. To Ryuga, there was no question that Tsuyoshi had used some trickery to evade the divine judgment and claim the hammer. As Ryuga raised his weapon, a massive Zanbato blade, the divine selection system activated a new passive skill for Tsuyoshi called Divine Eye. Intrigued, Tsuyoshi focused on Ryuga and saw his stats, level 84, a grade as Zanbato, and a host of powerful skills. He barely had time to process this information before Ryuga launched an attack, swinging his blade in a deadly arc. Tsuyoshi dodged, shouting for him to wait, but Ryuga's anger only grew. Another blow came down, but this time, Tsuyoshi raised the divine hammer to block it, surprising both Ryuga and himself with his reaction speed. Tsuyoshi tried to reason with Ryuga, to explain that he wasn't there to disrespect their traditions. But the beast general was deaf to his words, his pride demanding action, not diplomacy. In the heat of the moment, the divine selection system revealed an active skill, absolute replication. With this ability, Tsuyoshi could replicate any skill from an opponent by touching their chest. Seeing an opportunity, he dodged Ryuga's next swing and pressed his hand to Ryuga's chest, instantly accessing a list of available skills. He chose Heaven Shaker, a powerful move that was compatible with the divine hammer. Ryuga's shock turned to fury as he recognized his own skill being wielded against him. But despite Tsuyoshi's newfound power, his low level and inexperience prevented him from dealing any serious damage. "That's enough," came a booming voice, deep and commanding. The Beast King himself rose from his throne, his eyes fixed on Tsuyoshi. As he strode forward, the crowd fell silent, all beastmen bowing in reverence. To everyone's shock, the Beast King knelt before Tsuyoshi, a human. He seemed to regard Tsuyoshi not with contempt, but with a strange respect, as if seeing something within him that no one else could. "This must be a sign from the gods," he announced. "No one has ever touched the divine hammer before. If this human has been chosen, then perhaps he is destined to be our leader." The crowd erupted in objection, voices crying out against the idea of a human leading them. But the Beast King silenced them with a single raised hand. "The prophecy did not state that our leader must be one of us," he said firmly. Turning to Tsuyoshi, he added, "Tell me your name, human." "Tsuyoshi," he replied, voice steady, though his mind still spun from the events unfolding around him. "If you wish to lead the beastmen," the Beast King continued, "return in 1 year with strength and capability. Show us that you are worthy." He then placed his hand on Tsuyoshi's forehead, marking him with a cursed seal. "This mark will hunt you down if you fail to return in 1 year's time." Tsuyoshi took a deep breath, accepting the challenge but adding a condition of his own. I want her to accompany me, he said, glancing at the girl who had been waiting for punishment. She had watched the scene unfold in silence, her face a mix of awe and gratitude. She turned to him, her eyes shining with admiration. The Beast King nodded, granting the request. The girl bowed to Tsuyoshi, her voice trembling with emotion. Thank you, master, she said. You've given me a new chance at life. At that moment, the divine selection system displayed a new skill, Boundless Passage. With it, Tsuyoshi could travel between worlds. He opened the portal, promising himself he would return stronger. As he stepped through, leaving the girl behind, he felt the weight of the beastmen's expectations settle on his shoulders. He was back in his own world, still at level 3, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Emerging from the passage, he found himself at the bottom of an old well. Voices called out from above, telling him he'd been in there for hours. It seemed that time in this world had frozen, just as it had back in the beast realm. An elderly man lowered a rope, helping him out. As Tsuyoshi climbed, he felt the presence of the divine hammer, its weight now a part of him, even if only in spirit. Once he was back in the real world, he knew he was carrying more than just memories. The divine hammer's power was dormant within him, waiting to be unlocked. As darkness spread across the city, chaos ensued. Buildings crumbled under the relentless attack, and screams filled the air. In the midst of it all, Tsuyoshi struggled forward, his younger sister, Katrina, clinging to his back. She was wounded, her legs crushed under fallen debris, yet her spirit remained unbroken. Behind them, the remains of their home lay in ruins, trapping their parents under rubble. Tsuyoshi's heart ached as he thought of them, desperate to turn back. But his uncle, Nakazato, urged him on, saying, "If you stop now, Tsuyoshi, you'll die too." "But my parents," Tsuyoshi argued, grief and anger in his voice. Nakazato shook his head gravely. "The darkness cannot be defeated by anyone here. Right now, Katrina needs you. Get her to the hospital, then we'll think of a way to fight back." Reluctantly, Tsuyoshi pressed on, Katrina's injured legs dangling as he carried her through the burning streets. Once at the hospital, her wounds were quickly assessed. The doctors whispered grave concerns about her legs. Katrina, despite the pain, was more worried about her brother. She knew Tsuyoshi was scheduled for his hero test the next day, the one thing he'd always dreamed of. "Will you still go, big brother?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She tried to smile, masking her pain, but Tsuyoshi knew she was suffering. Her legs were swollen, unable to move. He scanned her legs with his divine eye, a skill he'd developed over time. The scan results flashed in his mind: 98% nerve damage, necrotized tissue, and a slim 1% chance of recovery. Her future seemed bleak, but for Tsuyoshi, that tiny glimmer of hope was all he needed. "I'll find a way," he whispered fiercely. "If I can pass that test and become a hero, maybe I can access the resources to help you walk again." The next day, Tsuyoshi joined the line at the Brave Test Group, or BTG, where would-be heroes took their awakening test. He watched anxiously as the candidate before him achieved a level 3 status and combat power of 540, earning the prestigious hero's emblem. When his own name was called, he stepped forward, feeling the weight of yesterday's failure hang over him. The doctor warned that the odds were against him. Most failed candidates didn't pass the second time around. But Tsuyoshi wasn't deterred. This was his last chance, and he knew he had to make it count for Katrina. With a deep breath, he activated Ultimate Physique, a hidden strength he had only recently discovered through his divine selection ability. The ground trembled beneath him, and murmurs rippled through the room. As he placed his hand on the measurement device, the reading shot up. Level 3, combat power 5,400. Gasps filled the hall as Tsuyoshi shattered a record that had stood for 30 years. He grinned, his heart pounding with newfound determination. But he wanted to test his limits even further, so he tried to channel the power of the divine hammer. A warning blinked in his mind. His body wasn't ready, and this move would drain all his energy in seconds. Yet, he believed 1 second would be enough to push the machine to its limit. Bracing himself, he activated the divine hammer. Immediately, an earthquake shook the building. The sky outside flickered with lightning, and the machine flashed energy overload. Doctors rushed to evacuate, fearing the building might collapse. The test was suspended, but Tsuyoshi had made his mark. He was officially declared a hero. On his way home, he felt a fierce sense of purpose rising within him. His path to helping Katrina and avenging his parents had begun. At the training grounds, he met Gaia, a seasoned hero responsible for guiding new recruits. Gaia was level 9, with a combat power of 1200, a formidable mentor. He informed the trainees that they would soon be entering a D-rank dungeon, and the trials would be intense. Tsuyoshi knew he had to keep up, even surpass his peers, to make his goal a reality. When Gaia finished his speech, Tsuyoshi activated the Boundless Passage, a rare ability he'd acquired to travel to the beast world for training. He felt the familiar energy surround him, and within seconds, he was back in the wilderness he'd frequented for practice. Beside him stood a powerful warrior, a girl with an extraordinary combat power of 630,000 and a level 72 rank. Tsuyoshi marveled at her strength and requested she demonstrate her skills. With incredible speed, she launched into a move called Instant Step Slash, her daggers cutting through the air in a blur. Tsuyoshi watched in awe, fascinated by the technique and eager to learn it himself. Yet, she reminded him that his level was far too low for such advanced moves. Instead, she directed him to a nearby level 3 goblin nest where he could start honing his skills. Taking her advice, he ventured toward the goblins, borrowing one of her daggers. He gripped it tightly, activating a move he'd recently learned, Heaven Shaker. With a single, powerful strike, he dispatched multiple goblins, leaving the girl stunned by his potential. In the dim shadows of a fallen forest, Tsuyoshi stood over the bodies of defeated goblins. Their twisted forms sprawled across the ground. Beside him, she examined one of their broken, makeshift weapons, a crude wooden stick, chipped and splintered. "Use this as your weapon," she suggested with a smirk. Tsuyoshi shrugged, gripping the stick with a raised eyebrow. Immediately, he felt a surge as his experience increased, though he was still a long way from reaching the next level. With no armor to shield him, each step into the unknown would be a gamble. Vulnerable yet undeterred, he decided to explore the tool he'd heard of in ancient tales, the Divine Consciousness Inventory. This mystical space between worlds allowed him to store items that could be used in both realms, though his inventory was limited to only 2 slots. One already held the legendary Divine Hammer, leaving only 1 slot free. As he took stock, his gaze drifted, appreciating her confident posture, the way her beauty seemed to shine even amidst chaos. "What other wonders does this beast realm hide?" he mused, a slight smile touching his lips. Suddenly, a shrill cry broke the silence. A new wave of goblins more formidable than before charged toward them, their eyes alight with malice. "The goblins get stronger the deeper we go," she warned, but Tsuyoshi held up his hand. "Stay back," he commanded, eager to test himself against this greater threat. Rushing forward, he attacked, swinging his makeshift weapon with precision. The goblins fell, but not without a toll. His wooden stick splintered under the strain. Yet, the victory was worth it. He gained another 150 experience points. She watched, astonished by his ferocity and skill, especially given the crude weapon he wielded. As they pressed deeper into the goblin stronghold, the battles grew fiercer, the enemies swarming and their strength increasing. With each skirmish, Tsuyoshi's experience climbed steadily 1230, 1500, 1800. He shattered stick after stick, but he pushed onward, relentless in his pursuit of power. In the world he knew, leveling up was slow, experience shared among heroes. But here, progress was swift and fierce, a satisfaction that thrilled him. Finally, they arrived at the heart of the lair, the goblin boss. Its hulking form loomed in the darkness, eyes glowing with an unsettling, shadowed energy. "It's possessed by darkness," she said, her voice laced with concern. "This is the one that injured my family," Tsuyoshi whispered, rage flickering in his eyes. This dark goblin was the creature that had shattered his life, the one he'd sworn to destroy. Ignoring her caution, he charged forward, summoning the Heaven Shaker move to strike a powerful blow. But the boss countered, sending Tsuyoshi sprawling, weaponless and gasping. Desperation surged within him, and he called upon his divine abilities, activating ultimate physique. Power concentrated in his right side, his very body now a weapon. Driven by anger and grief, he fought relentlessly, his fists crashing against the monster. Finally, with one final, earth-shattering blow, the goblin boss fell. Tsuyoshi stood over its fallen form, heart pounding, sweat dripping from his brow. He had avenged his family, and with this victory came 1,000 experience points, enough to propel him to level 4. Yet, as he looked deeper into the shadows ahead, his resolve only grew stronger. As Tsuyoshi's arm throbbed in agonizing pain, he struggled to stay on his feet. The divine selection system, allowing him to concentrate his strength on specific body parts, had backfired. In his attempt to bring down the towering goblin boss, he'd funneled all his power into one arm, now bruised, torn, and dangerously close to necrosis. Overwhelmed, he collapsed to the ground, clutching his injured limb, but his companion knelt beside him, a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I have some medicine." It took nearly an hour, the slow healing process reminding him how different this world was from his own. But gradually, the pain dulled to an ache, and he felt strong enough to get to his feet. "Look at that," his friend pointed at the dashboard. A sense of triumph surged through him. The screen displayed their latest achievement. They'd shattered the record for the fastest boss defeat in this treacherous cave. As they moved forward, they spotted the treasure chest awaiting them alongside it, a darkness chest, an exceedingly rare find. Tsuyoshi's eyes gleamed. All his hard work had led to this moment, and he couldn't hide his excitement. Inside, he found the Dark Goblin set, a rare and powerful outfit. The catch: his inventory was nearly full. With only one slot remaining thanks to his trusty divine hammer, Tsuyoshi hesitated briefly, but knew the Dark Goblin set was too valuable to leave behind. "Could you help me with a little finishing work on this?" he asked, handing the set to his friend. "Of course," she smiled. Within minutes, she had sewn it to perfection. Tsuyoshi donned the outfit, admiring her skill, before he prepared to head back to the original world. "Why don't you get some rest?" he suggested. She nodded, and as she drifted to sleep, Tsuyoshi quietly slipped away, activating the boundless passage to return home. The next morning, Tsuyoshi's gaze fell on the Dark Goblin set in his inventory. Curious, he equipped it, feeling a strange power surge through him. When activated, the set emitted a piercing scream that froze any nearby low-level enemies in terror. His hand morphed into a massive phantom tentacle, ready to deal lethal damage. The outfit, however, radiated an ominous aura that could easily be mistaken for villainous intent. Knowing this could attract unwanted attention from other heroes, he used the set's concealment option, transforming it into an inconspicuous, everyday outfit. Just then, his phone buzzed. The caller ID displayed the name of the chief nurse from Karina's hospital. "Tsuyoshi, you need to come quickly," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "Some dangerous people are here, demanding to take Karina. They claim she owes them money." Tsuyoshi's heart pounded as he heard those words. He'd taken out a loan to cover Karina's hospital bills, diligently making payments. But why were they harassing her now? Fury ignited within him, his eyes flashing a crimson red. Without a second thought, Tsuyoshi, now armed with the Dark Goblin set and his warrior's level 4 strength, raced toward the hospital. When he arrived, the scene before him fueled his rage. 2 thugs held Karina roughly, ignoring her pleas for an explanation and for her brother to arrive. One of them sneered, "Your brother took a loan from us and missed payments. We're here to collect what's due." Tsuyoshi's eyes narrowed. It was clear this was no ordinary debt collection. The boss of this operation had laced the loan contract with hidden traps, scheming to exploit his sister for profit in the worst way possible. The thug continued with a sinister smirk. "Come with us, Karina, or do you need us to convince you?" As one of the men leered closer to Karina, his intent clear, Tsuyoshi's fury boiled over. In a split second, he burst through the doorway, his entrance marked by a loud, resounding bang. His piercing gaze fixed on the thugs, his body radiating a dark, ominous power from the goblin set. At the entrance, a level 4 warrior clad in the powerful dark goblin armor stood poised for battle, his special skill, roaring tentacles, ready to unleash. Karina, his sister, sighed in relief upon seeing him, but a sneering villain taunted them, dismissing her as a cripple. With a flash of anger, Tsuyoshi struck, his fist landing squarely on the villain's face, shattering his glasses and spilling blood in a single powerful blow. As the boss collapsed, one of his bodyguards rushed forward, only to have his arm twisted painfully by Tsuyoshi's strengthened grasp. This warrior had just become the first to defy the notorious Blue Snake Gang, and he was unyielding. Another thug fired a bullet in desperation, but Tsuyoshi deflected it barehanded, astonishing everyone present. As the nurse and police arrived, the gang members begged Tsuyoshi to repay a massive loan, warning that their boss, a level 10 warrior with 2300 combat power, wouldn't stand down. But Tsuyoshi assured Karina he'd protect her as a hero now. Though the 60,000 yen debt weighed on him, he considered selling his precious equipment if necessary. Days later, Tsuyoshi and other trainees gathered before Gaia for the official hero test. Gaia demanded 20,000 yen from anyone who succeeded, but Tsuyoshi refused to pay. In response, Gaia assigned him to the dreaded solo test, a trial so dangerous that no one had ever passed. Despite warnings, Tsuyoshi entered the forest cave, where he swiftly defeated goblins, including a level 3 dark goblin with combat power 640. His own power of 6,400 made him unstoppable. Summoning roaring tentacles, he cleared the cave, emerging an hour later, victorious and drenched in goblin blood, asking the stunned examiner for a wash. His hero's journey had only just begun. Gaia was angry. A few trainees had merely bought their way to hero status with 20,000 yen, skipping the grueling training and combat. But before he could stew further, a call came in with surprising news: Tsuyoshi had passed the solo test. Stunned, Gaia confronted Tsuyoshi, suspecting he'd used high-grade weaponry to achieve the feat. Tsuyoshi simply shrugged, claiming that just because no one had passed before didn't make it impossible. Perhaps, he teased, it had something to do with the necessity of avoiding that hefty fee. Gaia, incensed, grabbed Tsuyoshi's shoulder, ordering him to show respect for his team, the Lazy Wolf. With fire in his fist, Gaia swung a punch, only to be easily blocked by Tsuyoshi. Furious, Gaia drew his sword and swung, but Tsuyoshi's dark goblin defense and ultimate physique shattered the blade. In shock, Gaia demanded to know Tsuyoshi's secret, assuming he'd unearthed something powerful in a cave. Tsuyoshi sighed in relief he hadn't been found out. Feigning nonchalance, he mentioned a shabby dagger he'd discovered there. At that moment, a staff member appeared to escort Tsuyoshi for an ID check. Quietly, Tsuyoshi vowed to keep a low profile around high-grade heroes like Gaia. Later, the Lazy Wolf gang showed up at Tsuyoshi's place, plotting to rob him. A gang member used magic to melt the door chains as Gaia, holding a dagger, planned to split the loot. Suddenly, the door burst open, and there stood Tsuyoshi. With a Heaven Shaker attack, he fought back, but the gang unleashed magic Tsuyoshi's dark goblin set couldn't block. He attempted to escape, but mid-air, he was grabbed and thrown to the ground. Despite their power, he survived. As he activated the boundless passage to the beast world, he promised himself he'd return stronger. Seeing a beast-eared girl asleep nearby, he decided to rest and prepare for the